are listening to Dr. Troy Munson with Words of Radiance. Now here is your host, Dr. Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson. There is a tremendous amount of negativity perpetrated on our media channels these days. And whether or not it's real or not, I would think even if 10% of the people out there were angry and upset and irritable, it makes for a bit of unhappiness for the rest of us. Because I think, okay, let's say there's 10 people in a room and they're getting along, but one of them is just not playing well with everyone. Well, now that's actually a fair amount percentage of that room, and it can be quite infectious of other people. So I doubt that it's that much. I know most people out there are good people. They glorify, or it seems like they glorify or sensationalize the very few that run out and grab a gun and start shooting, or ball their fists up and start punching somebody in a supermarket or whatever. They sensationalize those stories because those are stories that people will watch. But I have a sneaking suspicion that's a very, very small percentage of the population. Now let's go into Gang Central in something like LA. And okay, you probably could increase that percentage a little bit. And yes, it's a fairly negative environment and it is difficult. If you've ever read any of the books by Pastor Greg, his last name is escaping me right now, but he runs Homeboy Industries and Homegirl Industries and has pulled so many really good kids out of the projects, out of gangs, and rehabilitated them and got them jobs and stabilized their family, and has been truly a father to many, many children that didn't have a good role model. And I commend him for that. And I appreciate that there are people out there that are willing to help in that way. And I think it is awesome to watch what God is doing through him and in his ministry and all around those projects. I mean, it is awesome. But with that said, the vast majority of us in our life and where we are in most of our neighborhoods, most of our neighbors are awesome people. I've gotten to know my neighbors, and they're great people. My gosh, you go to the grocery store and look around you. Every person there is probably afraid because the media tells them that they should be, and that there's a lot more bad people out there than there's good. And you know what? That's a load of crap, because most people are good people. Look at how many people without any thought about breathing, about how much room there must be in between the fibers of a mask, they donned a mask because they thought it might be helpful. And so these people all did it, even though it did nothing. It didn't stop one thing. It didn't work at all. And all of the research is out. The masks do nothing. And so yet all these people donned these masks because they wanted to do their part. If you don't think most of the people are good out there, I would hazard that you reevaluate your thinking about what you just witnessed over the last 2 years. They would do anything to help. And that is the nature of us. So with that in and of itself, this particular podcast is on overcoming your own negativity. And first of all, we have to know what the win is. And the win is that whenever we have two people that get in an argument, one of them wants to win, and oftentimes both of them do. That's why they're having an argument. If you go to a sporting event, you now want one winner. Who wants a tie game? But the problem is that winning is not a psychological or a physical victory over another. That's what the world will tell you that winning is. Hey, you really won that argument. You really got the last word in. You won. Hey, you beat that other team into the ground. You know what? That isn't winning. Winning is overcoming your own negativity. I think back when I was very competitive, and I realized it got to a point that I was so good at what I did, and it was probably inevitable that I was going to quote unquote win the match, that it wasn't anymore whether I won or lost. I never seemed to mind anymore that I didn't have the high score at the end of the game. That was immaterial to me. What was important to me is that I played at my highest, best level. That was what was important to me. So I would play on teams as a ringer, but I wouldn't go on as a ringer and take over and not include every person in that match. I always worked to include every single person and encourage them, because that's what made it fun. A higher score at the end of the match was only fun for a second if you alienated everybody, including the other team, at the same time. That is not winning. That is losing in its most glorified fashion. So at this point, then you're saying now, well, I'm negative all the time. How do I overcome this? What do I do? Yes, your words are nice and flowery and really spectacular, or maybe they're not, but they're not doing anything for me to change and to overcome my own negativity. How do I do that? That's a common question that I get from folks is, how do I do that? Now, the first thing we could say is, okay, positive mental attitude. But how many people out there have tried positive mental attitude only to watch it fail? And that is unfortunately what we see most of the time, because it isn't about just saying the words, it's actually about belief. And now I tell you that it will be your belief that you must change, even though that is actually the most difficult. But if you actually want something to work, it is the only way that you can do it. And so you have to dig in. Now, you can soften your beliefs that are in your mind by going about things like, you know what, I'm going to be more positive. I'm going to try to put my mind on things that are above rather than things are on below. And that is wise, and that is, that's scriptural. For most religions, they're probably going to tell you that that's probably a wise move. And so what do you do then? Well, okay, you start to monitor your thoughts just a little bit. But maybe instead you say, well, this is what my life is right now. And I'll ask people, what you have in your life right now, is that what you want? And I'll pause, because they believe it's a rhetorical question. And it's not. I really, really want you to answer that question. So I'll ask it again. Is what you're getting in your life what you want? Now, if you answered no, congratulations, you just spoke against the garbage and debris that you see in your life. And now we can ask the most important question. If that is not what you want, then what do you want? Now, this be most careful with. This you should frame in the most positive way you can. Let me give you a poor way so you can understand the difference. I really don't like red lights. I hate stopping my car. I hate traffic. Ah, I get it. This is what you're getting in your life. Do you want to continue getting that? Well, no. Great answer. What would you like instead of that? I would like to have no more red lights. Okay, you're still focusing on red lights. I would like to have no more traffic. You're still focusing on traffic. That is not what we're asking for. What would you like to have in your life? Oh, I would like green lights. Excellent. We shall see green lights for you. What else would you like? I would like smooth flowing cars around me, and I get to where I want to in peace and joy and as quickly as possible. Fabulous. That is an awesome thing, and I agree with you. So those are how we're going to start approaching undoing negativity, in catching you when you're grumbling about negative things in your environment. Please don't do that. Instead, simply acknowledge that something is occurring that you don't particularly care for. Now, the first thing you're going to do is say, this is what I don't want. the next thing you're going to do is you're going to acknowledge what you do want. Now, if you've done this long enough, maybe this is the second or third time you've listened to this. If that's the case, and you're trying to perfect this two-step approach, which is denying what is happening as what you don't want, this is what I don't want. Fabulous. And you're answering that second question, very important question, out loud. What do you want? Now you're beginning the process of undoing your negativity. But you'll start noticing things like your brain continues to hand you negativity all the time. Here is why. Now, let's for a moment say, if you were created by the Creator, and that Creator is indeed love itself, life itself, light itself, joy itself, peace itself, knowledge complete, that is your Creator, and your Creator created you that way, your Creator has no fear, never worries, never has a concern about anything, and knows everything and is in control of everything, is not in danger anywhere at any time, shape, or form, and has created you unlike itself, not apart, but one with it, for all eternity. If that's what you believe, and I believe that is correct and true, if that is true, then why does your mind, or rather, your brain, run to negativity? Now, have you ever seen a U-Haul behind a hearse? I have never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. I've told many patients that. So, if you can't take anything here with you when you leave, this place is not necessarily created by the Creator. If it can go away, if it can be changed, if it can be altered, if it is at all looks like death, then life did not create it. Life creates like itself. It is permanent, it is changeless, and it is eternal. If that is not what you believe, well, I'm sorry for you. But if you will for a moment realize that, okay, let me just for a moment say that that's true, that the Creator creates like itself. It doesn't create separate, it creates one. There's only a source of everything, and there's only one source. And that source is the Creator. It knows everything, it is everywhere. It is in everything. If that is true, then why would you ever have to worry about a thing? Unless the brain, being a physical, not a spiritual component, is of itself now separate from the spiritual. And so what you're going to come to realize is that the spiritual and the physical are irreconcilable. You cannot mesh them. Will not happen. Doesn't happen. Because one is real and one is not. And that is just as simple as the truth is. So, with that in mind, your brain not being able to see spirit or hear spirit, it constantly runs to fear and negativity because that is what it was made from. The moment that we separated ourselves from the Creator, or tried to, we no longer listened to that lovely, sweet voice. This is the separation in the beginning. If some people want to call it the fall of man, you're welcome to do so. It is synonymous. So, when we separated and no longer we stepped out of that garden and could not necessarily hear God's voice or decided not to, we now made a voice that would speak for us. The Jews called it the Satan nature, and it's apt, but it is the egoic mind, if you will. And so it cannot hear spirit, cannot hear the voice for love. It only is alone and constantly afraid. And so it tries to sell you on its fear all the time. And there are people buying fear by the droves out there. Just look at them. They are constantly afraid, constantly fearful, constantly in anxiety. They have difficulty sleeping. They look at every human as fearful, as the enemy, and it's all been perpetrated by our media. And that's why I started off this video telling you how good people were and are. They are not bad people. They are good people. You are good people. And so with that in mind, I'm not trying to save the body. The body is not my goal. The spirit actually doesn't even need saving. It just is. What I am trying to do is overcome my own negativity and help others do the same so that they can start realizing that all your life, whenever trouble has arisen, you have been led and come through it. And once you're on the other side, you can look back and say, wow, that was amazing. Most people have tons of fodder for fuel for looking back in their life and realizing when they were in a difficult situation, they went through it. It wasn't fun at the time, but once they were through with it, they're like, man, I am stronger because of that. And that was kind of an important thing to go through in my life. And look how it just seemed to work out time and time again. And it does. So I want to encourage you today that you can overcome your own negativity. You can actually do this. You can use this two-step approach. Is this what you want? And if it's not, then what do you want? As you get better at that, you're going to realize that, you know what, my brain runs to negativity, and I have to start letting go of this gently and effortlessly, putting this aside, and literally telling your brain, I am not buying what you're selling anymore. I tell my head that at least 2 or 3 times a day, if not more. Look, I'm not buying what you're selling. Stop trying. I want only peace, joy, and happiness. I'll take that all day long. If that's what you're selling, I'll buy it. But whatever you're dishing out, I don't want, because it's fear-driven and I can see it. And so if you want peace, if you want happiness, if you want joy in your life, if you want to feel the lead or the prompting of the Spirit and know that you're in the right place at the right time, and watch people come out of the woodwork and want to talk to you because they want the peace that you have, and you start directing people and you start becoming a change that the world needs, and start releasing person after person after person from the negativity that they've believed that they are, and really watch them really open up as a beautiful flower that they are, then I invite you to start this work with me and come along and be part of it. It's not difficult work. You will be directed all the time. You'll be told what to do all the time. Just as I had an idea of what this podcast should be like, the words still came from deep within me that are part of you, that are part of everybody, that are part of the Creator. They're not mine. They're our words. So you're hearing your own self right now speak to you what it so desires to tell you. If you'll listen, you'll find peace in a most amazing way very, very soon. But make that your one aim, that you would only go for that kingdom of peace, that kingdom of love, that kingdom of joy, that kingdom of heaven. Let that be your only aim, and be vigilant against anything that is not that. I hope that helps. If it does, shoot me a line. I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, I'm Dr. Troy Munson.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Munson's Words of Radiance. We hope you enjoyed our show.